Going live.
You're looking good, Brass.
Give me a shake. And my ears are gonna fall off. I got so much junk on him on. Larry, I see that they didn't have your name on the Red Deer River meeting thing. I'll get a hold of Keith, let him know you were on there.
Yeah, I noticed that they didn't have me on there, but
Yeah.
that's because I never said nothing.
Oh, there you go. You never get in trouble that way, so.
That's right.
Out at Fox Lake this morning. Hey, Mr.
I am. Hey, good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice and calm and beautiful.
It doesn't look like there's any wind at all.
No, I'm in the shade of the trees here too, so it's really nice.
But,
It's nice I can get on with my. What's
Sorry,
that?
I'm gonna have to leave early today, just when I disappear,
Okay,
probably about 10:30.
thank you for that. I guess I can get some work done now that those lousy Oilers are out of the. I just thought I'd beat everybody to the punch on that. Thanks for that.
We've already dissected it. So
That's why I waited till 8:29 to get on. I didn't. I see a Leafs reporter was saying the Oilers need to fire everybody, all their management staff. So maybe not.
Maybe get a goalie.
It's not just that. I don't know. Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, sorry. I see Gretzky quit the organization, eh?
Yeah, he's going to TNT to do some announcing.
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah,
Must pay
Imagine-
more.
I would imagine they're probably paying him a pretty significant amount of money. Yes.
he was
Yeah.
just a figurehead anyways.
All right. Well, I have 8:30. So with that, we can call the special meeting to order if everybody's ready. And then we need that first motion, right? Agenda item 2.0. Kim?
Yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion that the agenda for May 26, 2021 special council meeting be adopted as amended to include the 2021 operating and capital budget adjustment dated May 26, 2021. Thank you, Councillor Stickle. All in favor? And that is carried. So then that takes us to, so do we need to discuss that? Go
I
ahead,
think,
Kim.
Mr. Mayor, the best process now for us is not to approve any resolutions until after we discuss it, because the spring budget adjustment is basically predicated on the tax rate bylaw.
Gotcha.
We were planning to just bring the spring budget adjustment to the June meeting.
Right.
But Municipal Affairs said, no, we have to have that budget approved first, even though the only changes in the budget will be based on how much we draw in on tax versus profit surplus. So,
Okay, gotcha.
so I think both of these kind of go hand in glove, Mr. Mayor. And if you're okay, I'll just focus on the tax rate bylaw.
Okay.
Because that will drive the changes to the budget. So,
You bet.
so with the tax rate bylaw, based on, as you know, council defeated the bylaw we brought to the May 11th meeting. And so we went back administratively and focused on the municipal residential tax rate only. So just the residential tax rate. And the key thing in this background information is page 2. So I'm just going to walk through all the options, all the pros and cons with each option, and then following that, council can provide any comments or questions they may have. So if we had left the tax rate the same as the 2020 tax rate on the municipal residential side, the tax rate would have been 11.1225. It would have brought in $1,849,724.80. The average change to the 1,224 residential tax accounts would be a $29.68 decrease. Out of the 1,224 residential accounts, 91% of them would see a decrease, and that decrease would be, average decrease would be $39.29. The average increase, or there would have been 3% that would have seen an increase, and the increase, I know it seems high, would have been $215.45, but a couple of those big changes in assessment were people who built a large shop on a residential acreage, and or their assessment increased based on purchase price of properties. So we did have some properties that sold for higher than assessed value, and the assessor then adjusted those assessments slightly. So 3% would have seen an increase, and 6% would have seen no change at all. So we looked at the 3 different options being 1%, 1.5%, and 2% increase to the municipal residential tax rate. So option 1 is 1%. It would mean the tax rate would go to 11.2337. It would generate $1,868,217.89. So that's an increase of $18,493.09 from a no change. With that option, the average decrease on the 1,224 residential counts would be $14.56. It would mean 81% of our residents would still see a decrease in their residential taxes, and it would be an average of $27.11. 19% of our residents would see an increase, and that average increase would be $38.53. So you see it's come down because we brought more properties into that equation to work that average number out. So, and the original draw from reserves with no change to the tax rate was going to be $67,371. Option 1 would still mean we would draw from reserves $49,469. So a decrease of about $17,900 from the previous plan. Option 2 is 1.5% increase to the municipal residential tax rate. So it would go to 11.2893. Tax revenue generated would be $1,877,464.44, and it would increase the tax revenue from the 0% tax rate by $27,739.64. So again, when we look at the average residential accounts, this change would see the average would be a decrease of $7.01. 66% of people would still see a decrease in their municipal taxes, and it would be $24.50. And 34% would see an increase, and that increase would be $27.27. So this would still require a draw from reserves of 40,223, and it would decrease the draw from reserves by 27,000 from our original plan. The third option is 2%, and it would mean the municipal tax rate would go to 11.3450. It would bring in $1,886,727.62. So that would be an increase of $37,002.81 from a no change. On the 1,224 accounts, it would basically mean that there would be an average increase to the tax would be 55 cents. The average decrease, 47% of the population or the properties would see a decrease still, and that average would be about $25 decrease. 53% would see an increase, and that increase would be $23.19. It would bring in, it would mean our draw from reserves would be down to 30,960, and it would decrease the draw from reserves from the original plan by $36,411, Mr. Mayor. So I think that's the information we wanted to provide and make sure everybody was on board. And then we will certainly look for direction from council on which one of those options is the preferred option. And I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that. First of all, is there any questions regarding the information that was given? And then we're just going to do maybe a roundtable. Yes, Councillor Campion. You're muted, Councillor Campion.
Kim, I'm just wondering on the your where did I see it here? The average increase, like from the 1.5%, you got 27, and then on option 3 it drops to 23. Okay, it is going down. I was thinking there was a jump back in there.
The reason it's going down, Councillor Campion, is that, again, you're going from 34% of the accounts that were going to see a decrease to 53. So you're bringing that pool together, and you're bringing the ones that were closer to either zero or having a decrease in. So it changes the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, okay, Kim. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we'll just go, just some thoughts, kind of a roundtable from what my screen is set up as. We'll start with Councillor Deadlock, followed by Councillor Jensen. Councillor Deadlock.
My thought is I like option 3. We're still drawing from surplus, and it's a 50-50 whether your taxes are going to go up $20 or $25. I like option 3.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Jensen, and then Councillor Bowden. Councillor Jensen.
I have to maintain the zero increase, sticking with the 2020. I've received a lot of gratitude and appreciation comments following reading the mayor's message that taxes would not be increasing. I know a lot of people have been struggling, and with all of that, I just don't want to turn around and say that, yeah, now we're increasing them. So that's where I'm at, just with all the people that have approached me with the thank you and gratitude for that. For the difference of the 36,000 drawing from surplus, I just, in my mind, it's not worth me turning around and telling those folks that we are now increasing the taxes after we said we weren't. So that's just where I'm at.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Councillor Bowden, followed by Councillor Stickle. Councillor Bowden.
Yes, I'd have to agree with Councillor Jensen. I think that there are probably a few items that will be added to our tax base if CORE constructs their shop, if GFL ends up setting up their shop, as well as improvements people have made. Perhaps the assessment will increase, and I'd like to see perhaps some changes in expenditures and that sort of thing to kind of tighten our belt. And given that a lot of people are doing the same, I think that council should be promoting a zero increase and to see some restrictions in some spending.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Councillor Stickle, followed by Councillor Olson. Councillor Stickle.
Yes, I like option 3 as well. I think if we go to 0% this year, what's going to happen next year? Are we going to have to go to 5%, or who knows? I think if we keep it normal at 2%, I think we're doing justice to the town.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Councillor Olson, then followed by Councillor Campion. Councillor Olson.
Pre-apologize, this will be a little more long-winded. So I like the 0% increase. Kind of crunched a few numbers looking back the past 4 years. Basically every year was a small increase of 1-2%, as well as small draw from surplus. So 2020, even with the increased small draw, increase of 153,000 into restricted surplus, which I get is exactly that, restricted other projects. The concerning number is 175,000 increase to unrestricted surplus. The year before, with an increase in tax, there was still an increase of 288,000 in unrestricted surplus. Year before that, with a small increase in tax, there was still an increase of $265,000 in unrestricted surplus. And again, year before that, again, 17, increase of $248,000 in unrestricted surplus. So as Hannah sits in the mid to mid-high tax rate, it just looks like year after year it bumps up, yet still I like the idea of, you know, the small surplus there. It just seems quite unnecessary to do it yet again. I disagree that it'll be a big problem next year. Assessments are not dropping as dramatically as they were for us to make up that difference. And I just think they're not going to drop significantly. So, and looking at all the past years of building that nest egg due to good budgeting with administration helping everything through there, I just think we accomplished that, building up that nest egg. We don't need to increase the rate when we're dumping hundreds of thousands every year in unrestricted surplus. My thoughts.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Councillor Campion.
Yeah, my choice is option 3. There's with only slight increases to half the properties, in which I think, like, if you can't afford a $23 increase in your taxes, there's something wrong. And I, like Larry Stickle, Councillor Stickle said, I don't want to set this up for the next council to be turning around having to raise it 5-6%. You know, when we can slip that 2% in there and without even hardly notice, and I think this is the time to do it. That's my opinion.
Okay, thank you for that. So I guess that leaves me. Honestly, for the small dollar amount, I do like the 0%. I think, as Councillor Bowden alluded to, and Councillor Olson alluded to, I really believe that our assessments are probably at the lowest that they're ever going to be. I really am confident in the amount of real estate that's been selling in town. I think our assessments over in the future years to come will be probably increasing. So I think that'll kind of help us along a little bit. And with the potential of some new construction, I think that'll help as well. So my consensus for myself would be a 0% tax increase. So I hate to break the tie like that. Yes, Mr. Neal.
Just a couple of quick comments. I know that it's terminology. But when we say 0% increase to the municipal residential tax rate, it does mean a decrease in municipal taxes generated.
Right.
So we need to be clear. And even with the option 3, we are bringing in, I think it's $700 more municipal tax than we did in 2020. So it was as close as we could get it with a round figure. So I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we throw out 0% and you know, 0% is the change to the tax rate.
Right.
But the actual municipal taxes generated will see a decrease.
Right. Yep.
So the other thing I just wanted to maybe have Rhonda speak a little bit. She did send me a message. So based on the discussion at the last meeting and the zero, I think what Rhonda was telling me in her message is that we did not prepare a tax rate bylaw for zero in the package. So as you can see, there was a 1 and a 1.5 and a 2. So technically, I believe we're supposed to have the actual correct tax rate bylaw here, which based on the discussion at the last meeting, when council defeated the 0%, we didn't bring it back. So I'm not sure if that causes us a technical issue or not, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if Rhonda has any comments.
Rhonda, you're muted. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. You're right. It does cause, we're supposed to have the actual bylaw in front of you in its entirety. And as Kim said, based on how council voted at the last meeting, I didn't expect it to go back to 0, so I didn't prepare for that, and I apologize.
Councillor Bowden?
Well, I would just wonder how long that would take. Could that be created while we are going, could we kind of postpone the rest of the special meeting and move forward with the other meeting and then resume the special meeting after the info session?
I guess my question would be, can we not just bring back the one that we had at our last council meeting? No?
No.
As written?
It doesn't separate the assessment the way it's supposed to, according to municipal affairs. So I would say no. We can't just bring that one back.
I know the intent, certainly the intent of a 0. We understand the intent. I think council understands the intent. It's just that we don't actually have the bylaw in front of you to say that you saw the exact verbiage and numbers.
Gotcha.
And I guess as far as doing it on the fly, the only challenge I think we obviously have is Rhonda is in the minutes trying to take minutes of the meeting and not able to focus and get that particular item done.
Right.
Nobody else is able to do that,
Not
given
at
the
this point.
information?
You know,
Also,
the
just-
only thing that we might be able to do on the fly is if we brought Winona in to take minutes and then Rhonda could possibly work on it while we're doing that. I don't know if that's an option, Rhonda.
I'm not sure what she's working on this morning. If we were to postpone the special meeting until 1 o'clock, I could probably get it out to then I could get an actual email out to everyone to say, this is your new bylaw.
Okay, Councillor Jensen and then Councillor Deadlock.
That's kind of what I was thinking, even later, just so we're not putting a ton of pressure on Rhonda to get it done, even like an evening meeting for as long as it would take to approve it. I would be down for another special meeting that would be quick and get it done. And I had just, as far as the vote to go to this special meeting, I hadn't really voted to defeat it. I voted because I didn't want us arguing through the regular meeting. I figured maybe if we could bring it to a special meeting for discussion, it would be better than us sitting there arguing on third reading. So that's why I had voted in favor of the special meeting.
That's fair enough. Councillor Deadlock?
Can we do the vote through email or does it have to be in a meeting?
It would have to be in a meeting, Councillor Deadlock.
I won't be available until about 7 o'clock tonight, from 10:30 to 7. Just timeline. And do we all have to be in the meeting, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Councillor Campion?
Yeah, I won't be here either, so not at 1 o'clock, so we can get it on there or not, so.
So I guess the other question, so is this another special meeting? We can't really do that without advertising, can we not?
No, we can have another special council meeting. Would have to be promoted that we're having a special council meeting, and all of council who are all on board here today would have to approve that special council meeting if it's done, so they'd all have to be in favor of it, so.
Okay. And
We
but
could
it
look at a time tomorrow, if there was a time tomorrow that worked for people, I don't know.
Or Friday.
I'm sure the meeting, I shouldn't say I'm sure, but the meeting should be a quick meeting based on the discussion we've had today.
Right. Okay, I'm going to throw out, how does tomorrow morning at 8:30 work for everybody? Hands up if yes. Hands up if no. Councillor Campion, it doesn't work for you. Is there another time tomorrow morning that works for you, Councillor Campion?
No, like, I couldn't do it tomorrow morning. That's all.
Okay. Afternoon?
I don't-
Or this evening, I guess. I mean, for as long as it would take.
Well, we arranged this meeting to do this morning.
Yeah, but we don't have the proper documentation, so.
Wow.
So was this evening out, Councillor Campion, at 7 or 7:30?
No, as long as I remember to do it, yeah. Whatever. Take your time.
Okay, how does this evening at 7 o'clock work for everyone? Is everybody good? Hands up if it is. Okay, so that's, I think we have our answer. So tonight at 7 o'clock, we will bring that back.
Okay. And I
Because
think,
Rhonda, yeah.
and that's all we have with the special council meeting.
Okay, yeah.
But we need a motion to have the meeting. I'm not sure if we would postpone the meeting till 7 and it'd be a continuation of this meeting.
I think postponing it is probably the best thing. That's what I think. Yeah, I think so. That's what I think. That's what I would prefer. I think that would be the best course of action. Again, I'm no parliamentarian.
Yeah.
Councillor Bowden?
Yes, I can make that motion for a postponement till 17.
Okay, we have the motion on the floor. All in favor? And that is carried. All right, we'll see you folks back here at 7. And Lori, I'm gonna look at you. Would you use the same login, same meeting? Yeah, no, yeah.
I'll send a confirmation email later today.
Okay, thank you for that. All
And
right.
just to clarify, there should be no need for the rest of staff to attend. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'll declare this meeting postponed until 7 p.m. On May 26, 2021. Thank you for that. All right, then that takes us to our regular council info session. I would entertain a motion, or no, I won't. I'll just call this meeting to order at 8:56. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Thank you, Councillor Jensen. All in favor? And that is carried. And that takes us right to our delegations, 818 Studios. Jen, I see you are in on the call, so I'm just going to turn it over to you. Welcome and good morning.
Well, thank you very much. I hope everybody had a good long weekend. If I could share my screen, I can show you some of the entrance monument sign concepts that we will be taking to engagement in the town next week. Perhaps a little reminder that we will be at the farmers markets for the first 4 Wednesdays in June. And then we've secured a storefront on Main Street. And we will be there alternating either Tuesday and Thursday or Thursday and Friday for the first 4 weeks of June as well. Myself and Paul Conrad will be staffing the farmers market and the storefront. At the last time we were here, we showed you some images that we were taking to the public, and we did have a successful farmers market at the Mother's Day Farmers Market on May 5th. We've come up now with some signage concepts in preparation for the signage and wayfinding plan. The signage and wayfinding plan, we're proposing 3 categories of assets. The first is entrance signs for the gateway to the community. The second would be wayfinding signs for directional, like pointing to assets within the community. And the third is signs that would provide a cohesive look for town-owned properties. So I will share the just a few draft concepts that we have. Can everybody see that? So on the top left, we've got some wayfinding signage. So this would be directional for pedestrians and drivers, pointing them toward the points of interest within the town. We could also add a little map here for the pedestrians to make it easier for them to find their way around. Here in the bottom right is a point of interest signage concept. So for example, at the library or the town office, we have prepared some lists of possibilities for which assets could have these signs. And that of course could be prioritized depending on funding and the places that maybe don't have a sign and need a sign right now. And then here are the remainder are some concept signs for the monuments for the entrance to the town to replace the old wooden signs on the highway. These ones here are steel signs with rock pedestals. And these include some wood to make it a little bit warmer. This one has a little concrete base. This one is more of an artistic interpretation. When we talked with the youth, the feedback they gave was that the community to them is really the people that make it, the people make the community and really are important players in what makes Hannah such a special place. So this represents some of the historical businesses and that have helped to create the town. And the youth also mentioned, a number of them, that it would be really cool to have a big gateway over top of the main street or Palliser Trail to actually provide a physical gateway to the town. So if there are any options that you really like, that would be great to know. Or if you have different ideas for what things could look like or materials to be used, that would be also interesting to hear. Or if you look at these and say, throw them all out, do something different, that's fine too. Feedback is appreciated.
And I have a question. So on the wayfinding signage concepts top left, those posts are wooden?
Yes.
So requiring some maintenance then?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. That's I guess that'd be my biggest concern. I mean, I like all of them. I think they're all really cool, but my biggest concern is just maintenance on being in the home renovating, home decorating business that I am. You know, I know how much the town spends just maintaining things like picnic tables and some of the seating we have in our outdoor areas. And it's, you know, to add that would be my major concern is the ongoing cost of maintenance of, you know, anything that's made of wood or something that needs to be sealed or finished. But the concepts, I like the concepts. I think they're excellent. Is any Councilor Bowden?
I have a question. Would there be any need to add anything to the existing signs once they are in place? Like, for example, on our existing signs, we have Home of Nickelback. Would there be any other need to add any other acknowledgement, things of that nature?
I personally think that a readable sign is probably the best welcome to the town. So these signs will be easy to read, not a lot of clutter on them, and the font big enough so that people at a glance can see that they're entering the town. You could add, like some of them have welcome to Hannah or live the lifestyle, but it really, I think that in order to increase the longevity of it, the simpler, the better.
I think I've been told that there are several people that when they're traveling on the highway going past their signs, there's lots of people that stop and take photos of the sign that says Nickelback. At one point, there was a bus of tourists that had stopped and taken photos of it. So if it's kind of utilized as a bit of a touristy thing for travelers and such, would we be losing that sort of aspect or not?
I was speaking with Jesse, the marketing consultant, a little while ago, and he said that really you want something that will bring people into the town and spend their money there. So although it's great to have people stopping by the highway and taking pictures of the sign, that's not really increasing the economic activity within the town at all.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions? Yes, Councillor Olson, then Councillor Dedlock.
Yeah, I just wanted to mirror Mayor Warwick's comments about the low maintenance. I really like the idea of a gateway sign as you enter on Palliser Trail. I mean, steel and wood seem like they're comparable prices these days, the way wood's getting. I guess I'm neither artistic nor fit into the youth category anymore, but that Welcome to Hannah sign doesn't really do it for me. It just looks like a advertisement for where in the world is Carmen Sandiego. I can't get that out of my head. But I do like the idea of updating. And I mean, you could talk to places like the golf course has an entrance sign that matches similar to those old wood signs. To incorporate those, there'd be a lot of places on board to update a lot of that signage as well.
Thank you. Councillor Dedlock.
I like all of the signs. I agree, less maintenance, the better. I really like the idea of having the youth comments in it. That's the crowd I think we want to attract, is the younger people. They're the ones that are spending the money that would spend the money off the highway into our community. So I think having their opinions makes a big difference for me. But I do like the idea of all the signs excluding the wood.
Thank you. And to Councillor Bowden's comments, I agree a little bit, but I also agree with Jen that it'd be nice to have. I'd like to see something like a life-size cutouts of them in, maybe in that park between the Legion and the Special Areas building, where you could have a life-size, replication of them, and you could stand in front of it and have your picture taken. That draws people into town then, and that was my kind of thought on that. But once you get things like that on social media, then it does kind of draw people. So that's just my comments. But any further comments regarding this? Yes, I'll go with Councillor Campion first, and then Kim.
Yeah, Chris, just with what you said there is a memorial thing being already planned for that spot there, okay, between the buildings and. Yeah,
I was just wherever, somewhere inside the town is what I was saying.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't like the wood at all. And the gateway, I'm not so sure about. Do you get moving a big building or something? How do you get it through there? Is it so that it can be opened or removed, or because either way you've got to have a straight access to the highway. The east end doesn't work because of the bridge, and I'd like to see some prices on what the intention is here.
Yep.
So,
okay. Kim?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, good comments, good conversation. And I guess that'll be the kickoff. We certainly, Jen, wanted to share these with you before they were public. So they will be sharing these concepts and I think based on some of the feedback they'll get through the public consultations, it may change the direction of these as well. We may get many comments from people about home of Nickelback, sister town of Waukee, some of those things that we've got on our other ones that might be important to our residents. So I think we'll have to hear what the feedback is and where it comes from, and that will give us a guiding direction. The other concern I had, and I've mentioned it to Jen and Mark yesterday, was just costs. So that's certainly something that we'll have to factor in as we move forward. I do believe there is some potential, there is some funding for some signage through some of the money that Cactus Quarter got from WED. Whether it's enough to do a full meal deal or not will be something that we'll have to address as we move forward. And the only other concern I have just with the archway over town, I just fear we have some, we're known for some wind, and whatever goes there, has to be high enough, as Councillor Campion said, to address the high loads that would be on that road. And secondly, I just fear having a big wind come in and causing damage to that and that being an ongoing issue. So whatever is there, I think has to be able to withstand some of those crazy winds we've been getting lately. I think this last year we've probably had 2, maybe 3 times we've had over 100K winds here, and just don't want to have something built that comes down and causes issues during one of those storms. So that's my only comments, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Bowden, and then Laurie.
I'm just wondering, does this have any impact on the electronic sign on the highway? Is that still going to be in place, or was there any discussion about moving it or it not being affected at all?
As right now, we're planning on leaving it as it is, not being affected.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other further questions, comments? Yeah, all right, sorry, Laurie.
No, that's fine. The proposals that you had there, Jen, can you talk a little bit about facility signage? The facility sign that you showed was freestanding. I'm wondering about the facilities, on the facilities themselves. Are you proposing that there be nothing?
No, we can, I still need to explore that a little bit more. So we can certainly explore having plaques on the building instead of a freestanding sign out in front. Yeah. So as Kim mentioned, this is definitely going to be an ongoing conversation. We expect to get a lot of feedback during our engagement in June, and these will definitely not look like this at the end of this process. There's probably going to be a lot of modifications.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for that, Jen and Paul. I think that was great work, and concept is definitely right in line with what we're thinking. Thank you so much. Take care. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion. I think I will, if I can find it. Oh my goodness. Oh boy, this is so, I hate these PDFs. Can't even find it now. There we go. Entertain a motion. The council thanks representatives from 818 Studio Limited for their update on the Hannah Community Development Project. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. All in favor? And that is carried. All right, that takes us to 3.02, Cactus Corridor Economic Development Corporation update. Mr. Nakota, good morning and welcome. I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you for the time in front of council today. Yeah, that's the first time I saw those signage concepts. I really like them. Good comments and questions from the crowd there. As long as we don't see any more parallel parking ideas on Main Street, I think we'll be good to go, right? So I'm gonna try and share my screen here. Does anybody have any questions before I get going on the presentation that I have? I can't see everybody, so if you do, you have to speak up.
I just want to make a
Okay, yeah.
comment. I
That's
guess maybe next time a collared shirt or something, Mark, might be nice. That's all. No, nothing.
Actually,
right, so
I'm at home
I-
today. I've been under the weather for a few days, so but well taken. Good.
I think you have your answer.
Yeah.
Well, just, yeah, we'll open up for questions at the very end of it, Mark. I think that'll be easier so that we can see who's asking questions.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can. Oops. Technically challenged in when I'm not at work here. There we go. Can everybody see the presentation?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So just an update on what's going on in Cactus Corridor. If you have questions, feel free to interrupt. Otherwise, I'll just keep on going here. So in the new business and investment area, TransAlta, I'm not sure if everybody saw, TransAlta approved their Garden Plain Wind project, which will be going just north of town, obviously in the Garden Plain area, will be kind of the central area for their wind project. Obviously with that, we've been in contact with them, their construction support group, looking for construction support stuff such as gravel. I'm sure all the same kind of things that we supported when ATCO did their DC lines here many years ago. And potentially an operations shop ongoing would be in town. Upwards, from what I understand, of could be 100 jobs in construction, 100 to 120 at this point in time. And with construction starting next spring, as far as I know, spring, summer. And then the operations shop, potentially jobs of around 10 ongoing jobs. I've been in contact with them, did a presentation on the town and everything that we can offer, and gave them a number of business contacts for possible land locations or operation shops, either existing or new build. So that's where TransAlta's at. That's kind of our new business and investment. Been listening to the GDL stuff that Ken's been working on. That sounds really positive, and of course we're here to answer any questions that they might have. Continue to work with stakeholders. So Village of Youngstown, they've approved their development incentive policy just like the town did not too long ago. Prairie Land School Division, doing a lot of work with them. They're very active. Their board is very keen to see school division and schools become a greater part of the community in economic and community development. So I've been working with the Youngstown School and the Berry Creek School on their Schools of Excellence, their greenhouse projects. So they're both up and running, or they've been approved. I think Youngstown has broken dirt on theirs. Not sure, I haven't talked to Berry Creek for a little while to see what stage they're at, but I'm assuming they're moving ahead fairly quickly. Also working with JCC and Hannah. They've got a little different model than a specific greenhouse project, for example. They want to do a school of innovation. So they're looking at doing different ideas. They've been reaching out with surveys to the general public, parents, the kids, obviously, to see what that's going to look like. So School of Innovation would be basically looking at whatever option that might be, not necessarily a specific program, but it could change every year, but just being very innovative and excelling at whatever they do. So lots of exciting stuff with Prairie Land moving forward. The project, so Western Economic Development project updates, of course, still ongoing, the 13 projects we've been working on. You've obviously seen lots of updates from 818 Studios. They're working on a couple for us. So we're still plowing ahead with the economic development readiness. So having that information ready when people come knocking. So we're working with labor force groups, land inventory, water, power, logistics. So having that ready when businesses come knocking, so we have information at our fingertips. Working continuously with our choke point analysis and red tape reduction group. We're actually working right now on a business licensing proposal and in discussions with the Chamber of Commerce. So lots of stuff going on in that area. Special areas irrigation projects. So that's moving forward actually very quickly. there's a push now from Canadian Infrastructure Bank and Alberta Ag. So there's been a memorandum of understanding between Alberta Ag, the Infrastructure Bank, and special areas with Cactus Corridor. We're kind of in a support role at this point. And also the MD of Acadia with their irrigation project. So we're at the point now where they want to see kind of timelines is going to be doing in some RFPs probably in the next few weeks here to actually put some proposals out there to the public and see what's going to happen. So moving very, very quickly. So hopefully we'll see some good stuff come out of that. The Ag Center, so a couple of weeks ago, I guess it is now, we had a preliminary report from our consultant that's working on the Ag Center. They've done a lot of their engagement and narrowed down the original concepts to these 5 or 6 different areas that are showing promise. I really like the approach they're taking, the presentation that they had. They've done a lot of background information to see what our strengths are and what the area could is best known for, obviously like agriculture, but you know, narrowing it down to that more that ranching and how the tie-ins there. So preliminary components in the potential Ag Center, looking at that being a livestock hub. So, oh, go ahead, Councillor Borden.
Thank you, Mark. I was just wondering, has a site been designated for this center yet or not?
No, not at all. That's in kind of the next bit of work they're doing right now is to narrow it down to probably 2 or 3 potential sites.
In town limits or outside of town limits?
Probably looking at both, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, there's going to be a number of factors, obviously. So they would look at cost of location and then ongoing operations. Probably, if I was guessing at this point, an Ag Center would be within at most a 20-kilometer radius of Hannah would be as far out as we're looking. So again, depending on siting and a bunch of other factors. So
yeah, and I'm yeah, it's kind of unfair to ask you because it could impact cost and that sort of thing. But
no, it's a fair question. That's fine. Yep.
Thank you.
So anyway, yeah, livestock hub I think would be probably key. So looking at all things animals, equine boarding, animal training, animal therapy, veterinary services, all those kind of things. Again, looking at those educational components, Prairieland is a very big part of this. So partnerships with their schools of excellence and innovation and how we can draw in any of those kind of things. And we're also having conversations with post-secondary schools such as Olds, Lakeland, kind of see what kind of tie-ins we can have there. Obviously, a big key would hopefully be a riding and event center. So with that, you know, indoor riding arena, potentially rodeo area. Research facility, there's a lot of work being done on the agricultural research right now. The provincial and federal governments are both pushing in that area. I think COVID has really sped some of that up with that food security. So research has become a big one, and that's something hopefully we can tie in. And then also looking at food production, is there, you know, would there be an area for custom slaughterhouses or other food preparation areas? So those are kind of the narrowed down parts that hopefully could play a part in a potential center. So the next steps, obviously, as Councillor Bowden alluded to, are potential siting locations, and then doing that operational analysis, because as we all know, you can find money to build just about anything you want, but it's really the ongoing operations and the cost to run a center that matter. So that's really where we're pushing this project is what would make it self-sustaining, so it doesn't become another draw on the regional tax base. So really looking forward to what comes out of that project. Some of the Hannah specific projects, obviously, as you know, the community development projects with the 818 studios, the recreational living and healthy living strategy are moving ahead and are well into the stakeholder engagement. As you heard Jennifer say, they've got a storefront on Main Street next to the post office. They'll be there for June, and they'll be attending the farmers markets. So hopefully getting a lot of stakeholder engagement there. Tourism. has become a big focus for the federal government, the provincial government, and obviously the region. We're working with the Hannah Learning Center, and they've taken over running the VIC for this summer. So we're putting additional resources into tourism, partnering with them. We've made connections with Travel Alberta, Travel Drumheller. Western Economic Diversification is very interested. They got, the federal government reached out to them to help with tourism. And Travel Special Areas, obviously, with the Wanda Dyko in the east part of special areas there. So lots coming with that. Western Economic Diversification allowed us to redirect some of the funding they'd originally given to our projects to tourism. So we're looking at having a tourism coordinator to really help the town, Village of Youngstown, and special areas. Tourism's always been in the background. I know Lori's done a lot with it. The town's done a lot with it, but it's always been off the side of somebody's desk. So we're really hoping these extra resources will help make it a focus for the next couple of years anyway. Cactus Corridor. So one of the 13 ways things was for Cactus to be more in the business of actually doing business. So what I'm really pushing ahead with at the moment is building demolition in town, working with 3 commercial property owners, obviously the town with the Central Meats building and a couple other ones, to clean up sites and make them more, to remediate the sites, make them more investment ready. Kind of the same, basically the same concept as we did with the National Hotel. There's no point in having a derelict building sitting there, becoming an eyesore and becoming a safety hazard. Knock down the buildings and have a vacant lot ready to sell or develop on is a lot more appealing to a potential business. Go ahead, Councillor Bowden.
Yes, I was just wondering if you can share if those other 2 sites are along the along downtown, or if you can share any information about what those 2 other sites are.
Yeah, I can, I guess, because we put out a hazardous assessment RFP. So one would be the Seymour Hotel. And so we're working with the owner there on what his plans are for the building. And also then Adrian Moll's building, the old cable business building just north of the York restaurant. So again, working with those owners because those buildings are privately owned. It's totally up to the owners what they want to do, but trying to look at options to make them a little more investment ready.
And so they would be sharing some of the costs as well?
Working on that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Again, yeah, so looking at building demolition and then development, working on a plan to do some residential development. I've been talking to some of the other developers in town, such as the Cargs, and some of the other house builders. Went and talked to the Reese over at Hannah Building, or Hannah Construction there. Just on how we can take advantage of the current housing market. We're seeing people move here from all over the country, really, and we haven't even started our marketing project yet. The housing market's doing very well, so how can we take advantage of that now? So Cactus really moving into being more in business, so actually driving development as opposed to waiting for it to come to us. Regional marketing and promotion, really a big project that we're working a lot on. So we're trying to get an alignment of regional partners. So obviously Cactus Corridor, our partners, the Village of Youngstown, the Town of Hannah, Special Areas, and the Learning Center. We're working on efforts to align and update the regional partners. Every one of the partners is kind of at a different level of marketing readiness. For example, the town, you're further ahead, you updated your logos and taglines and stuff recently. Whereas you look at, for example, the Village of Youngstown, a little further behind, didn't necessarily have a website that was representative of the village. So again, including branding, websites, materials, basically trying to advertise and promote the region. So trying to bring not only tourists here, but turn that into residents and then turn that into business. So it's kind of a focus we're doing that way. With that, I'd like to introduce everybody to the Harvest Sky region. It's kind of the first official launch of Harvest Sky. With our marketing partner, Insight Studios from Edmonton. They did a lot of engagement, a lot of work on what we need to do to really promote the region. So way back a few months ago now, I guess, when we first started this project, a couple of different concepts were brought forward to Cactus Corridor. And one way to look at it, I guess, or a couple ways to look at it is there's two ways to really promote the region and the partners. So if you know, for example, like a corporation like Procter and Gamble, they have a number of different products like, Tide or I don't know, any other kinds of products that they have, and they promote them all individually. And then that's one approach. So, we could be marketing and promoting the town of Hannah or the village of Youngstown or special areas, but it's somewhat harder to promote 3 or 4 different entities when there's no cohesion, and we all know we have limited resources, budgets, time. So the other option is more of like a Marriott hotel, for example. So if you see advertisements for a Marriott hotel, it would be, and I'm going to get these wrong, for example, Best Western, a part of the Marriott hotel chain, or I don't know what's another hotel, but they're always a part of something. So when you ultimately market to the larger population into areas, you market the brand as a region and then draw people into the different entities. So the Cactus board decided to go down this path and let Insight come up with some concepts. The one being, let's promote the region as a region, and the partners obviously would fit under that region. And then you can also market lots of things under there. So, we can market the golf course as part of the Harvest Sky region. You can market the learning center as come to the region, and we have the learning center. So the Harvest Sky region was picked, and I'm quite happy with the logo. I like the colors. I like the concept. I think it's fresh. I think it's inviting. I can show you after. There's a whole Insight did a whole background on the name Harvest Sky. There's lots of reasoning for this. And the one thing I would point out, when the board first saw the words Harvest Sky, there was some initial pushback. Obviously, if you live in the area, the connotation of harvest can be dirty, hard work, sweaty, it's the fall. Why are we promoting harvest and being dusty and all that kind of stuff? But the one thing that Insight pointed out, and we have to remember, is we're promoting the region to people that live outside the region, is what we're really trying to promote. And when you think about Harvest Sky, if you live in other areas, you think about warm, sunny, it's harvest time, the sun is maybe setting, but it's nice. It's that warm feeling, that family feeling. So I can maybe pull up the slide after on what Harvest Sky represents, but it's that nice warm feeling that is supposed to draw people into our welcoming, inviting communities. So.
And just to add to that, Mark, I know like harvest, we think of harvest as harvesting crops. That's what we think of as, that's the first thing that pops to our mind being in the region. But harvesting is everything from harvesting people to harvesting resources to harvesting, tourism, whatever that is. So harvest is a pretty broad term. So that when they said that really clarified it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And the other part of it is kind of a practical side. So they'd obviously gone through some of the different potential names, like let's say Big Sky, because we think about that as we're a Big Sky type region. Well, when you start doing searches and websites and stuff, well, Big Sky is used in all over the place, right? And it'd be just about impossible to have a website with Big Sky anything and stand out. Whereas if you search Harvest Sky, there's very limited use of Harvest Sky out there. So it becomes more of a unique trademark for our region as opposed to blending into the crowd. So Cactus Corridor Economic Development Corporation will cease to exist, and we're going to be renamed Harvest Sky Region Economic Development Corporation. Again, just that alignment, having everything. So our website, which is in progress right now, will be the Harvest Sky region. There will be a website. It'll have economic development pieces to it. It'll have tourism pieces. We've registered a number of website domains. So when we're advertising, we can use Harvest Sky region. We can use Harvest Sky tourism, and it'll point to the website. We can use Harvest Sky EDC. It'll point to the website. So there'll be lots of those options and lots of, again, that overall overarching branding to help drive the region. The partners are going to get a refresh. And again, like I alluded to before, every one of the partners is at a different level. So Village of Youngstown, a brand new logo. They're going to get a brand new website. And as you can see, kind of the concept here, part of the Harvest Sky region becomes part of the tagline. So that when you're advertising, yes, we're advertising and marketing the Village of Youngstown, but it's part of that bigger brand, that bigger concept. So it ties into the region. And so you can see here kind of the overall flow chart diagram. So you have the overarching Harvest Sky region. You've got Harvest Sky Region Economic Development. You've got Village of Youngstown. And then we have Town of Hannah, we have special areas, and we have the Learning Center. So we're in discussions right now with Insight. The Learning Center is going to be doing a little work there to see what they want to do. Special areas is obviously going to have a conversation. A little trickier on special areas because Cactus Corridor Harvest Sky represents special areas 2, whereas special areas has special areas 3, special areas 4, obviously Oyen, Consort, the different pieces. So a little different concept there. We'll have to see how that plays out. And then the Town of Hannah, obviously you guys did your refresh. We're going to be working with Insight, and maybe I'll let Lori chime in here if she wants to on kind of where the Town of Hannah is going to go as to fit a little bit more into the region. I don't know, Lori, do you have some comments you'd like to make?
I can. Is now the time?
Sure, yeah. I
Okay.
guess I can ask, this is the end of my presentation, basically. Does anybody have any specific questions before I let Lori take over?
Councillor Bowden?
Yes, I just have a comment. I like the change. I was always kind of confused with Cactus Corner and Cactus Corridor, so it's nice to have a complete separation. So I really like it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councillor Olson?
Just a very quick comment. I've been 10 years working for special areas. When I started there was a stack of 3.5-inch floppy disks about water projects, irrigation projects. I'm excited and amazed to not only hear it's moving, but moving quickly. Notes on everything you have there, Mark, is just, I'm amazed by the fires you've started and what's moving forward with this. It's awesome to see.
Thank you.
Any further comments, questions? Okay, we'll let Lori speak to the presentation, and then yeah, we can kind of wrap it up from there.
Lori, do you want me to stop sharing, or do you want this up?
Yes, stop sharing, please. So with doing this, and Kyle's bang on from a former EDO, it's nice to see Cactus Corridor, now Harvest Sky, under Mark's leadership, moving in the direction of growth and attraction. Retention is important too, but Cactus in the past has kind of tended to get bogged down in a lot of paperwork and documents and specific community needs and wants. So it's nice for him to stay focused on the bigger picture. And I think the work with 13 Ways has really helped with that focus, specifically when it comes to Hannah. So Mark reached out to me not that long ago and said, gave me the spiel on what he's been working on with bringing the partners, the communities, Youngstown, HLC, special areas, and the Town of Hannah up to speed. And he's right in that we as in Hannah is ahead of the game. Youngstown's website either didn't exist or was severely dated. Their logo probably wasn't really a logo, dated back to the 70s. So he's done a lot of work with them, and they've been really good. When he pitched to me that last slide that he showed, I had a concern that all of a sudden we weren't Hannah Live the Lifestyle, we were Hannah part of the Harvest Sky region. And so Mark's question to me was, how can we help? What can we do? We as in Cactus Quarter, what can we do to help move Hannah's marketing forward? So I laid it on him. I laid on all my challenges and frustrations and limitations. And he said, okay, well, why don't we start here? So that is what we've done. And so where we've started is taking a look at Hannah's brand and identity and saying, where and how does it fit? We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We've gone through that. We've agreed on that, but it definitely has its challenges from a design perspective. And how do we take what we've already created that's working, meld it in with the Harvest Sky region, Youngstown, all of the partners, special areas, and make it a cohesive brand. So I've done some work with Insight, who's been doing the work with these other communities. And I think they've come up with a very reasonable, happy medium. So addressing my concerns, I can do a real quick screen share if you like. The first step would be just seeing if council's on board with the direction that Insight and myself are going. And if you are, then we will take it to the next step. My hope is that if you are approving of this, that we would bring a more firm document to the June, I would hope June, might be July, council meeting for a final approval. I just want to do my screen share here quickly that will show you what I'm talking about. And I'll try to do this quickly. Okay, so do you see the rural health document or do you see Insight?
Insight.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to skip over this first slide because it doesn't matter. So this is what we have today. Also in consultation with Tumbleweeds, because they do the majority of our printing, whether it's business cards or probably the smallest things that we've printed with the new design so far are golf balls, which Tumbleweeds hasn't done, up to signage. So she's done signage. So I did have a chat with her and say what works, what doesn't work, and how do we again tie this in with the overall concept. So this is what Insight is recommending. It's very minimal change, not enough that we have to change what we've already done, but it is a change. I'm liking it. I can live with it. There's one piece I don't like. I have no control over it. I'm going to mention it because the Cactus Corridor board members or the Harvest Sky board members are on the call. I would like to see this part of the Harvest Sky region change to be a Harvest Sky community. And I realize that HLC is not a community, but they are a partner, and the golf course is not a community, but they are a facility or a golf course. Or I think that some key phrases could be selected that would work, but I just want to throw that out there for consideration, just because this is a lot of words and you want Harvest Sky to be the focal point if we are going to go that direction. So what this means is Live the Lifestyle would be removed and part of the Harvest Sky region or a Harvest Sky community would replace it. That does not mean we would be getting rid of Live the Lifestyle. I think it's important that we keep that. So what Insight has done are some concepts just to show us how it would tie in. So possible graphics and images. Just going to go through them very quickly. You'll see that we're losing the leaf that I see very prominently, other people using it incorrectly. So that kind of made me happy. Putting a lot of focus on the H. Once the logo catches on, which it is catching on according to Insight. We don't even have Town of Hannah listed here, but it's obvious that that's what it is. We have Live the Lifestyle. So these are just some of the concept ideas that they've I need to be able to control my screen. Put a little bit of effort into the letterhead, which we didn't have before. It looks a little bit more professional. Just some ideas of how it would work on different materials. And then here it is in the same screen that Mark showed, only with the new concept and design. So I say it's new, but it's a refresh, it's a redesign. It's really not noticeable or visible to the majority. Yes, Councillor Bowden.
I was just wondering why Live the Lifestyle isn't still in place, and then the part of Harvest Sky as the secondary was that not our initial? Did we not want to give that message first and then part of the bigger picture?
Yeah, so that, like I said earlier, that was my concern, was that council was pretty adamant on the Live the Lifestyle, and I didn't want to see it lost. However, Harvest Sky, as Mark had stated, really wants to see this, you know, everybody within this region. And I think he used Procter & Gamble as an example. You can look at a package of Pampers or Crest or Tide and see that they are all subsidiaries of Procter & Gamble. So I think I know that that's the idea, and it is a good marketing. It is a good marketing concept. So it was important, I felt, that we do not lose that Live the Lifestyle. So that's why you do see it. It probably, even in this case, gives it more attention than it did before, the way that Insight has pitched it.
I guess the other thing is you could still use both, like appropriately. If it's a regional kind of a message we're trying to send, you use the and I like your recommended change to the you know, being a Harvest Sky community. That raises a question to people that look at it. They go, what is Harvest Sky region? Then it opens up the opportunity. Part of Harvest Sky just seems, yeah, a little cold to me. Go ahead, Councillor Bowden.
And I also had some comments about some of the photos that are used don't include some of the actual pictures within our area. I think there was some.
They're just, if I can just interrupt you, they're just concepts.
No, I know, I realize that, but in the future, I think there was something on our website, or somebody had seen about marketing for some residential areas or new buildings or whatever, and it were buildings that were not even in our area. Just it would be nice to be able to have some representation of actual you know, photos from our community in some future advertising.
I think Mark has an answer for that.
Yeah, and I would suggest we could put that into our budget for next consideration, to get some professional photos of things, of gaps.
Mark,
and I think it's part of Insight's project. Carry on.
Mark.
Yeah, so Insight is actually engaged with a professional photographer. They'll be starting doing actual photos of models, people, buildings, parts of the region over the next year. So obviously starting now to get spring stuff, then there'll be summer, then there'll be fall. So all the marketing and advertising you'll see going forward will actually be actual photography of the area. We're actually looking, part of it is going to be place brand videos as well. So we're going to be hiring a video company or video production company. And you know, you'll see, for example, drone footage and stuff like that. So that's all coming too. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Councillor Olson, I saw your hand up earlier, and then Councillor Deadlock.
Well, I'm happy to hear my modeling career still has a chance. As soon as we talked about the Live the Lifestyle going away, I could feel my back arching and getting a little defensive. When I saw those pictures, you're absolutely right, Lori. It stands out more than it does in any of our current signage or any publications or any stuff we have out there. Yeah, and I love the idea of, instead of stock photos, actual stuff from around the area, whether it's people or places. But no, it's all good.
Thank you. Councillor Deadlock.
Mark, when they did their presentation on the logo, there was quite a description on how they come about with that. Can you just update council on, you know, what the way it flows and the coloring? And do you remember, or do you have that on hand? I found that very interesting.
The Harvest Sky one?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can pull that up if you guys want to keep chatting, and I'll find it here somewhere.
Are there any further comments or questions? I guess we can go to some of those. Yes, Councillor Jensen.
I like everything. I think it's fabulous. Just with the Harvest Sky region or community, whatever the terminology used moving forward, I think it would be important that all the communities use the same terminology so then it doesn't confuse people from community to community, and it just keeps it all a nice cohesive unit. But that'd be the only thing.
Laurie?
I completely agree, and I only throw it out here because that's a decision that has to go back to the Harvest Sky board and direction to Mark. So it's not really our choice as a I guess we could, it is our choice. We could change that, but then we lose the continuity and we might as well stick with Live the Lifestyle. So if we're looking at continuity, I believe it's important to stick with the same. So I would just like an overall consensus then that we are going in the right direction. That tagline, part of the Harvest Sky region, may flux as Cactus, Harvest Sky region board discusses it further, but that I could continue then with the concepts and the document and more formally pulling things together to bring back to a council meeting for approval.
Yeah, I think that's good, and it might create some challenges with special areas having, special areas, Harvest Sky community. The special areas consider themselves as a community. They should, in my opinion, but does that really tie in well with what they're trying to say? I guess that might be the challenge more than anything. Of course, with Youngstown, it would work well using that phrase. So. How you doing, Mark?
Good. I can try and share this here, see if I can. So that's the Harvest Sky region. So you can see all the different elements. Like when Insight brings this stuff forward, as obviously the Cactus people would know, this isn't just picked out of midair, I guess. Like the gentleman, Darren's his name, I think, is really the graphic guy here. They have a lot of reasoning behind these logos and where they come from. So you can see here, there's 10 different elements that they've brought into the Harvest Sky one, like the diamond. The box isn't just a box. It's got movement. It shows partnership. And keep going on this. They show the colors mean something. Like they do quite a bit of work in behind the scenes. If I could pull up the same sheet for the Village of Youngstown logo, same thing. There's a dozen different parts to the logos that they come up with. So it's pretty impressive.
Is that what you're driving at, Councillor Dedlock?
Yeah, I just wanted everyone to know kind of the meaning behind the symbol that's there, and that there was a lot of thought. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but Harvest Sky will be promoting how they come up with it, not just throwing it out there.
Yeah, so that's why I was kind of not hesitant to bring it up today, but we really want to have like an official kind of launch of the regional name, the branding, obviously the change in name from Cactus to Harvest Sky. But it's already started to get out there in some parts. I know Youngstown's started to do some different things in their discussions. I know with the VIC, for example, they ordered aprons, so they use the Harvest Sky region logo on their aprons. So the concept has already started to leak out there, so it's no point in trying to wait for some magical big launch before we show it to people. But my intention is still to have kind of an official kickoff to Harvest Sky and show people the reasoning and what it means. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Bowden?
I was just wondering, Special Areas has signs just sort of as you're entering into the Special Areas region number 2. Would that mean that those signs would be replaced with something to support the Harvest Sky region? I guess that's to be determined down the way.
Yeah, I mean, those signs are pretty new. I doubt they would do too much to them, but I can't speak for special areas. I know Megan, as their communications person, has started to talk to Jordan, and will be presenting some ideas to their advisory council board, however their process is. So again, it's going to be a little different, a little more difficult because of how special areas are laid out, and they're a provincial entity. At the end of the day, they have to answer to the province. So it's going to be a little more touch and go, but they're definitely interested in getting on board with some of it, whatever they can anyway.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Kim?
Not necessarily on the Harvest Sky or this. As Lori said, administratively, we wanted to have this discussion with council because we knew Live the Lifestyle was an important component of our new logo and our new change. So we wanted to try and keep it where we can and how we can and use it as often as we can. So looks like there'll be some options there moving forward. The other thing I just wanted to comment on in regards to the agricultural center, what do we do? The question on the site was raised. And I guess my comment, Councillor Bowden, I know there's been no site identified and they're looking at sites. My initial thought is it's probably not going to be within town limits. And that's from a point of space and volume of space that they'll need. Like if they have an event center where they hope to have horse trailers and horses and lots of people, the size is going to be important, and to be able to grow into other areas, and it might be a phased one, so they might start with a component that takes up 5 acres, but then they move into another component that would need another 10, or so. I think they'll be looking for a fairly large plot of land to be able to accommodate future growth as we move forward, Councillor Bowden. So I don't want to rule it out of town. It might be on the periphery of town, but I think unless we amalgamated property or annexed property from special areas, it's probably been, probably will be outside our corporate limits, I would assume.
Councillor Bowden?
Yeah, I guess I was just, I thought that not that long ago, the town had kind of, I'm not sure, annexed or shown interest in property that is just off Palliser Trail north of Fox Lake Trail.
Well, not in my time. I know that the town did, I believe, annex in some land when the lodge was built, and that little section there, that 25 acres. There's been no further discussion with special areas in regards to annexing other property, but certainly it's always on the table. And I think the key thing would be, as Mark said, when we're looking at sites, you need a large enough space, and then you'll also take into consideration your access, your servicing, because those will drive costs up in terms of development. So, it could be on the periphery. I just don't know as it sits right now whether the town of Hannah has a large enough spot of land. I guess the only thing that jumped into my mind would be we do have some undeveloped farmland, I guess, in the northeast corner of the town limits that could be an option as well. So, but all those things will be looked at as this project moves forward.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark, did you want to wrap anything up?
No, that's good. I've been sending out a monthly newsletter to people. If anybody wants to get their name and email on there for more regular updates, certainly let me know. Otherwise, everybody knows where I'm located. If you have any questions, give me a shout.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for your time this morning. Great presentation. Keep up the great work. You and your whole team. Thank you. All right, with that, I entertain a motion that council thanks Mark Nakota, manager of Cactus Corridor Economic Development Corporation, soon to be Big Sky Region Economic Development Corporation, for his presentation updating council on the activities of Cactus Corridor Economic Development Corporation. Thank you, Councillor Deadlock. All in favor? And that is carried. All right, that takes us to 3.3 COVID-19 cares. Survey analysis. I'm going to assume it's going to be Director Snell. Yes, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Good morning and welcome. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm pleased to provide an overview of the Hannah Cares Pandemic Survey and the results. As I go through them with council, you'll see there's no real surprises, but we received excellent response from the surveys. So as opposed to making assumptions and taking my own personal thoughts into it, the survey provides us that component of citizen engagement that actually gives us some stats and stuff to work through. So I'm going to just share screen now. Sure I will. There we are. Do you see Hannah Cares Pandemic Survey results? Perfect. This is a longer presentation. Lori will be taking some of this information. You're going to see it on social media. It's not going to be saying anything differently. She's just going to look at presenting those figures a little differently. But the results are fairly consistent with what we've seen throughout the province. So as I mentioned, we undertook the survey. It took approximately a month. We had 337 people respond, either online or through the paper surveys. And then we looked at who responded. So if you look at who responded, we had basically, I believe it's 66% are over the age of 46. So that really is reflective of our community. It's not a surprise there that that's who's responding. And it's also a reflection of how they responded. When you look at the online, that's more likely to be the group that would respond. So it's still a good cross-section of our community when you look at the cross-section of the population that did respond. It's not a youth-focused survey. It was looking at basically the taxpayers and those that were accessing them right up front. Again, females are more likely to respond to surveys, and then we came in with 67% with females responding. We looked at who's responding to the survey. So are we targeting, do we know the people that are within our community, and who's looking at the needs, who's responding and saying that they require the needs? And 98% indicate they're Canadian citizens. Well, I remember a time back when Mayor Warwick indicated that he'd been invited to the Filipinos community for the Christmas dinner, and there was over 130 at that time in our community. That's a significant percentage of our population. These folks did not respond to this survey. So that tells me that if I'm wanting to reach recent immigrants or landed immigrants in our community, I'm going to have to look at a different way of looking and assessing their needs. And again, it's just a tool that we can look at providing our services and where we can move forward from there. I was interested in seeing who responded. 73% are from within the community, within the town. 24% are from that outside region. And again, special areas is a big player in our community. So we do want to hear from them. Those are the people that do their business, live and work and play here. So we do have an impact there as well. We asked the question about household income, and that tells us what our what the economics are for our community, what the ability is, affordability. So when council's making decisions about free public skating or not free public skating, or giving the Toonie swim, what kind of percentage of the population does that impact? And you can see that we have less than 50% of our population. When we look at items like kids sport, and we're trying to do the assessment in terms of financial ability, that baseline is $44,000 for a community of, or for a family of 4. So I looked at that. If you had 5 kids and you were in that $40,000 to $79,000, you were going to have difficulty making some choices. And then we have almost 45% that's over $80,000. So that's quite a difference in our community in terms of ability and needs for those community members as well. 53% of the population, or 53% of the respondents responded that they had children living in their household. and 38% responded that they had people over the age of 65 living in their household. So we've got a very young segment of our community, and we have a very aging segment of our community, which again is a big concern. When we asked where they find information regarding services, programs, and events, and this to me just speaks about the difficulty of Lori's job, trying to engage citizens and trying to educate and trying to promote, you can see from the responses that it's a crapshoot, and social media, as we know, is here in a few minutes and gone again. So capturing people's attention is a difficult situation for sure. When we asked them about their general well-being, I was actually surprised at the amount of people that responded. When we look at the impact that COVID has had, 77.4% of respondents feel their mental health is worse because of COVID. Then we looked at what the impacts were.
You moved your,
oh,
we can't see, it's just something's moved around.
There we are, sorry. I was trying to not look at the camera. Sorry, thank you.
That's fine, no problem.
84% of the respondents are concerned about their own mental health and personal well-being. And then that slightly higher, which is human nature, are concerned about the well-being of their family members and their family's health. 80% again said they felt they had a loss of routine and disruption to their daily life. And 91% were concerned about the future. So when we asked people what their concerns were, it was just like a barrage of concerns. Impact on the future, loss of income, delayed surgeries, isolation, concerns for seniors, future of the business. So people have got a lot of concerns, and quite frankly, it's quite a few of them are things we have no control over or little. When they talked about what they'd experienced, top 5 responses were feeling hopelessness about the situation, more tired, moments of anxiety, change in the quality of duration of their sleep, and feeling irritable. So I'm going to steal a little analogy that Dr. Jody Carrington had. She said, we are all like 2-year-olds that have just gone through a tantrum. And this tantrum has lasted 14 months. And if you think about a 2-year-old that's had a tantrum, we're tired, we're cranky, we're irritable, and try and talk us down out of that one now after 14 months. And it was a good way of having a better understanding of why we're feeling the way we do and kind of putting a name on it. What impacted it? TV, media, mandatory restrictions from government, and trying to keep up or understand the guidelines. And they talked about what else had a negative: people not following the rules, loss of income, masks, social distancing, Alberta economy and debt, unable to see family and friends. Again, no surprises there. And then we asked about what their sense of belonging and connection to their community was. And this is important because when we're trying to build a community and build community cohesiveness and cooperation, and remember I talked about that 2-year-old having a tantrum and the way we interact with each other, that starts filtering in all areas. And so when we look at 56.4% respondents feel they have a strong sense of belonging and connection to their community. And that's good, that's positive. But it also makes me look at the other 44% that aren't connected and what's happening with those folks. In times of stress, no surprise, people turn to family, friends, and health professionals. When we asked about technology, we talked about the marginalization of those that are financially unable to connect. So the library is a great example. We have people that cannot afford internet, don't have access to computers. Our library provided free internet access. Now that the library is closed due to mandatory government restrictions, those people have lost their ability to connect. And that further marginalizes that population. So it was interesting, and I mentioned this to Kim because when we look at this 4.5%, that one jumped out at me because in Cochrane's same survey, their percentage of those that didn't have access was only 1%. And in the discussions that I had with Kim, we talked about the fact that Cochrane has a more affluent community, perhaps. It might have been a younger age group that was connecting up, but it does speak to the fact that almost 5% of your population is marginalized and doesn't have access to technology. And that's a concern. When we're promoting everything online, everything social media, everything, it's a concern because you're losing that 5%. And I would suggest, and we'll look further at the data, but when you have 38% of your respondents that are over the age of 65, that's another issue as well. They talk about increase in discrimination, and that could be everything from race to age. And again, you know, we're saying the no is 70%. We still have 30% that are feeling that they're targeted. And again, those are those feelings that maybe that group that isn't connected to the community, and how do we address that? How do we promote our living the lifestyle and becoming a kinder community? When we asked about the mental health support that they need, 74% said yes, and 25% said no. And again, if they were aware, 70% are aware and 30% aren't. And again, I had a short conversation with this one with Lori. I said, when we're throwing money into things like our family resource worker program, our family and marriage therapy program, and we are putting considerable dollars, we're making that decision through our FCSS funding, then my concern is why do 25% of the people not have the support they need? And I know we've had different levels of support through Alberta Health, but where are we at with that? That's a huge number. And again, why are they not aware? How are we not connecting and letting people know where they can access the supports they need? We looked at financial impacts and job security, and we lumped all these just together. Has anyone in your household lost their job? 47% of the respondents reported that their job and family income stable. That's good news. But 52% have had an impact. So I always like to see those figures, because the comments, everyone's losing their job. Who's everyone? I want to know the stats. Well, this clearly shows 47% are stable, but we do have a concern with 52% having impacted because of the pandemic. And then the next one is, since the beginning of the pandemic, how has it been for you or your household to meet your financial needs? Again, looking at that almost 40%, it's difficult. Well, 53%, no change. And you know that just within your own family situations. Some folks still have their jobs, hasn't been impacted, they didn't lose any income. But if you're running a business that relies on the service sector, those people have been shut down several times during the course of the pandemic and had a loss of income. Oh, pardon me. If the current public health response to the COVID pandemic does not change for the next few months, what will happen to your financial situation? And 35% believe that their situation will become worse. So if you looked at, 35% of our population that's struggling, that's quite a few people out of our slightly under 3,000. How likely is it that you'll become short of food? This is a question that goes right back to the food bank, and I will be sharing this with our interagency, and folks like the food bank will be involved in that. 63% say it's very unlikely. You can even bump that up to 73% if you include the somewhat unlikely. But there's a fairly substantial percentage of the population that really not sure, 16%. And then that smaller group at the bottom again, that roughly 10% is going to struggle. They're struggling now, and it's going to get worse. And how again is it likely that your household will be unable to purchase clothing or personal hygiene? And again, those numbers come up very close. We've got that higher percentage of the population, very unlikely or somewhat unlikely, but you've got about that 10% again that they're going to struggle very, very much. 94% of the respondents said their living situation secure. But again, 9% said they would have to move within the next 6 months because they'd no longer be able to afford their current home. So when we talk about food security, personal hygiene, housing, 10% of the population is going to struggle. And what's your outlook on your financial stability? Again, if I lumped all those percentages, you know, we've got not concerned at all, somewhat concerned, slightly concerned, and then that extremely concerned is that 9.4%. That actually follows through, statistically shows that there's some cause for concern there with that 10% of the population. When we asked the question if they'd applied for any financial relief, 52% of them have not needed, but 38.7, so you may as well call her 39%, have applied for various financial relief. We asked how they felt businesses, agencies, and organizations in our community are enforcing and following the provincial restrictions and guidelines. 71.3% said, yeah, we're all doing good, but another 28.7%, 29% didn't feel that we were following the guidelines. And we've had informal conversations about this. Everyone has different views, and if we took a vote on the 16 people online, we'd all have a different level of comfort on how we follow the rules. And so it's just, to me, reflective of society in general and where we're going. And I'm come to the conclusion there's no right or no wrong answer. People just have to operate in a safe manner for themselves. What would help you feel safer when accessing businesses, agencies, and organizations in your community? They look at the top one being following and enforcing provincial restrictions, social distancing, and wearing masks. The masks mentioned again. Visible example, I think people that provide the masks and the hand sanitizers, they appreciate the online ordering and curbside delivery. And then they talk about consequences. But when we had asked if they had any ideas or suggestions on programs that could be offered to keep your spirits up during COVID pandemic, there was a lot of that free and open activity. Scavenger hunts, window painting, outdoor eating, contests, fireworks, outdoor fitness classes, drive-in movie, positivity challenges, meeting with friends and family virtually, organized children's activities. And what that told me was our attempt last summer, where we did the special events and programs where we tried to allow people to gather in a safe setting outdoors, was the right track, and we're continuing on with that again this summer. So that just reinforces that we're on the right page. When they asked, how do you prefer to participate in programs? 66% prefer to participate programs in person. No surprise there. People are done with Zoom. They're done with the online meetings. They want in person. They want to be able to smile across the way and have a conversation with people. So when we looked, for example, at Jody Carrington was supposed to be here on June 2nd, if council remembers, we've now rescheduled her to December 7th, and all the responses I've got back so far is, thank you, we want to see her in person. We don't want to see her online. We asked the question about transportation, and 89% came back and said transportation isn't an issue. But again, that 10% of the population says transportation is an issue. And no surprise here, 75% of those that responded that transportation was an issue is for medical appointments outside the community. And then second was socializing and visiting friends and shopping. So it wasn't that people were looking for rides to get out of town and go shopping and do the Costco run. They were looking at 75% is for medical appointments. And if they don't drive or they're elderly, it's a huge concern for them. For transportation within the community, the results were basically spread across similar patterns. It was all given equal counting, equal weight. Medical appointments, grocery shopping, errands, socializing, entertainment, shopping, and short drives. That was the one for in town. So that is, to me, speaks really strongly about a handy transit type that runs on a regular basis, but we'll review that more. How much are you willing to pay? Because that's always the question you want to ask. Everybody wants everything for free. And we know that council has buckets of money. So jokes aside, people wanted something affordable. They were willing to pay a flat fee. And sometimes I think if they look at that, something they can pull out of their wallet, seniors, again, more apt to have that $5 flat rate of $5 in town. And they really looked at travel outside of town limits with a flat fee of $50 per 100 kilometers. I still think when we get into it, there's going to be people that will struggle with that, which is why I'm very appreciative that council has a handy transit policy for medical appointments that subsidizes that right now. But
Gwen, just on that previous slide, just
yeah,
a question regarding the $50 per 100 kilometers. So that's like both ways then. Like if it was to Red Deer and back, say it's 200 kilometers, so it'd be $200.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Then we looked at our questions for those that are 65 plus. So of that 65 plus age group, of those who consider transportation to be an issue for them, 48% are 65 years and older. So again, that's our senior population where they're not driving out of town as much, maybe not doing as many long distance. So again, it's a fairly high and does reflect the fact that 38% of our population, or of those that responded, were 65 and older. When we asked, are you able to manage your basic physical, emotional, and financial needs? And that's a loaded question for seniors because they're typically pretty independent and like to feel that they can handle things on their own. But 12.8 or 13% responded that they aren't able to handle their basic needs anymore. And they're looking for some level of supports. What do you require assistance with? Basic housekeeping, social support, and accessing government supports. So if council remembers, I've talked about this previously where they can receive assistance to access the additional supports and supplements through their income tax program. The average income goes up for our seniors by $7,000 annually. That's huge. And it's because they're reluctant or not comfortable accessing those government supports and need a hand with that. And it's basically a one-on-one. And we do have volunteers that provide some level of assistance with that, but we don't have a formal program where people know that this is the spot they can go. So what services or programs do you feel are needed for seniors in the community? Community bus came up, social gatherings, access to vaccines in town. And that was when we didn't have the vaccines available. So I'm not surprised that that one came up either. Safe social interaction, housekeeping, technical support, financial assistance, companionship, fresh air, home care, taxi service. So, and then we asked the question about community wellness, and this one tied in with our Hannah Wellness Network and the initiatives that we've been doing with the Hannah Wellness Network. And with the Hannah Wellness Network, I really feel that that dovetails in nicely with council's Live the Lifestyle. Given the current restrictions impacting recreation facilities and opportunities, have you accessed any of the following outdoor activities? And the top three most used were Fox Lake Park, walking trails, and the Hector King Hunter Park Light Tour. And so I thought that was interesting because I would have thought Croaky Curl would have hit the list, but it did not. And it reinforces, and I've said all along, we have amazing facilities, and it's really important to keep those amazing facilities, well-maintained and in good working condition, which kudos back out to council and providing that support to do that. We asked if the Hannah Wellness Network had had a positive impact for you or your family. 47% said no, not at all. But, you know, roughly 50% said that it had had a positive impact. And to me, if you can hit 50% of the population that's responding, that's a pretty good response. We asked them to rate which were the most valuable in the community, and the top 3 responses were access to existing outdoor assets such as walking trails, tennis courts, ball diamonds, etc. Outdoor events or gatherings, and enhancement of existing facilities such as seasonal lighting and displays were appropriate. These are all low cost or no cost activities. There's no revenue recovery for this. There's no cost recovery coming back in. People don't have a little box at the side of the park that they drop $5 in every time they go to our park, but they use them and they enjoy them and they appreciate them. And so when those top when those top responses come back, I think that's clear that we're on the right track, pardon the pun. Oops. Yes. Overall, how do you feel about the long-term future of Hannah's social well-being? 43% are neutral, 24% say positive, 31% says negative. Remember, we asked that question earlier on. How do you feel about Hannah's future? Again, we've asked it a little differently about social well-being, and those statistically, it's very comparable. So again, we're looking at good job for us on the majority, but what's happening with that 30 to 40% of our population that doesn't feel valued, doesn't feel socially secure? What's going on with those folks? Where are they at? And we asked for feedback. What has changed for the better for you since COVID? And because we always like to look at where are the positives. Well, they're spending less money. More appreciation for my home, healthier choices, more time for self-care, fitness and nutrition, support for each other, slowing down and connecting. Those are all the positives that have come out of us having to pull back a bit and stay a little less busy, I guess, in some regards. So I liked to see those answers because it showed that people were that percentage of the population that says things are going not bad, we're handling things, they're making good choices about how to move forward. And just turn that down. And what is worse for you? And mental and physical health, lack of activities, stress, job uncertainty, kids' mental health, that's a huge one, loneliness, difficult demands for healthcare field, concerned about family, feeling overwhelmed, not being able to meet friends, and those, no surprises again on those. But it does say to us, how do we provide opportunities for people to meet some of those needs? And would you be interested in having more information about where to find help? And is yes, what would you like to have? And so this is our reach out with the Hannah Cares. And it was interesting, the mental health therapy, mental health supports, social programs, snow removal, employment security. Those are pretty basics, but I was interested in finding that the mental health referrals came in there because I think those of us that are on those committees have been trying fairly hard to promote the fact that we've embraced the family and marriage therapy and have promoted another additional service to people in the area at a subsidized rate. So hopeful that people will get the message to reach out. And that concludes the overview of our presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Gwen. Wow, that's a lot of information. Really well done. Any questions? Councillor Bowden?
No, I just have a comment. for Director Snell. Well done. It's good to see the breakdowns on certain situations and confirmation in some areas and new insight in other areas. So well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to shout out, Lori did help us promote that on social media and helping get the word out. We also had one of our summer staff, Lexi Knievel, has helped a lot putting together the presentation and doing those results. So it's a group effort as always.
Awesome. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Jensen.
Now, I could probably ask you this at one of our other meetings, but I'll forget. So now's a good time. I was just wondering about the FCSS and libraries. I know there was a bit of a collaboration talk about promoting the libraries as a essential service, and I just wondered if there had been any, I guess, progress on that.
The FCSSs across the province have made a very strong comment that we are marginalizing a certain segment of our community by keeping the libraries closed. They want to really lobby the government in terms of at least letting us open up our libraries for appointment only to access the computers. So that's what Councillor Jensen is speaking of. We spoke about that at our FCSS directors meetings. I will be bringing that back forward to our Community Services Board for a recommendation to come back to council. I might have to do that by email, or there might not, we might be getting into July. So our next meeting isn't until after the council meeting. So I'll make a note of that. Thank you for that reminder though, Councillor Jensen.
Councillor Bowden.
Yes, I was wondering if this information might be available on the town website.
We will be releasing the information, and Lori's got a promotional social media promotion that will be done. I don't know if we're going to release the whole report. What I might do is do a executive summary that would be released and available on the website, and then Lori will take posts, and those will be going out on social media.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do you want to add, Lori?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, well, basically what Gwen said. I'm gonna be doing a completely different presentation than what Gwen had. Hers is a summary of the details, and what I have will be a summary of the summary. But before I get them out publicly, I want to go over with Gwen, because we want to be sure that the information that we're putting out is the same, that the numbers are the same, but it will be a much simpler format and one little piece of information at a time, just to kind of get people talking and awareness, because there's a lot of information there to disseminate. My intent would be to hopefully get that out into the e-newsletter before it goes out on social media. So please be sure that you're subscribed to that. And if I remember, and I'll try my best, I can be sure and get that information to council ahead of time. But ultimately, yes, it will be available on the website.
Okay, good. Any further comments, questions? Excellent. Well, thank you for that, Gwen. That's good work and some really valuable information. I know even in the transportation end of it, with some of the funding that might be coming out from the feds. So great work. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion the council accepts the COVID-19 HANA Care Survey Results Analysis Report for information. Thank you, Councillor Olson. All in favor? That is carried. All right. And I don't think we had anybody registered for public presentation, Mr. Neal. Negative. So that takes us to the Chief Administrative Officer report. Mr. Neal, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of comments. COVID-19 update. If you're not aware, the province is announcing later this morning their reopening plan. So I'm optimistic we'll see some good news there in terms of reopening. I know looked at BC's, and BC's I think will probably be somewhat similar as we move forward, and they see some significant restrictions lessened quite immediately, and then more even as of July 1. So I'm looking forward to hearing what the reopening plan has, and that may certainly have some changes to us. Not a ton, I don't think. The only changes that I see to the town will be Centennial Place and being able to get it up and operating for our residents, and as well as possibly, as we move forward, a larger gathering, indoor gathering opportunities for the community center, which may then increase some of our whether it's weddings or meetings or events, and get that rolling. So hoping for good news there. Not much to update on GFL. Continuing to work with them. They did have their public engagement virtually last week, and there was approximately 35 people online. I thought it went over quite well. Some questions, again, typical questions on odor, noise, dust, but I think they were handled quite well. So we'll see what the public hearing process brings forward on the rezoning, and that'll be I think in my mind, the real drive as to how we move forward with this project. Thirdly, Mark did talk a little bit about demolition. So just a further update there. So Cactus Corridor has retained Eco Abate Environmental Solutions. So they will be out next week to do the environmental assessments on those 3 properties. And as well, while they're out, Mr. Mayor, I just want to let council know that while they're out here and we can capitalize on their mobilization fee, I have retained them to do an hazard assessment on the residential property, that tax recovery between on Fox Lake Trail that we just undertook. I know there's been concerns about what type of potential liability there would be in demolition of that property. So while they're out there, we got a fairly good price for them to do a report on hazard assessment in that building. And then that will be information that we can either use to move forward if we choose to move forward, or if someone wishes to purchase that property, it gives them a little bit of comfort in terms of what they might find with hazardous materials. So that's moving forward, and they'll be in town next week, Monday to Wednesday.
Councilor Bowden?
I was just wondering about the Vertinsky property west of the Royal Bank.
It currently is not in tax recovery process, so it's privately held. There's nothing we can really do at this point in time.
Well, the other 2 properties are privately held as well, but.
Yeah, but those owners have expressed interest to us that they want to do something. And I know with the Seymour, they are entering into the tax recovery process as we speak. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions?
That's it, unless there's any questions.
Okay. It looks like nobody has any questions for you. So thank you for that, Mr. Neal. Well done. All right, that takes us to our business item 6.1. Kim, I'll just turn it over to you.
Yeah, these next 2 were a little challenging, Mr. Mayor, administratively. I did provide you a bunch of information on the Provincial Police Force study. I know council has received numerous letters from other municipalities who have written the province indicating their support for the RCMP and basically asking them to discontinue their investigation into a provincial police force. My approach has been, Mr. Mayor, has been the province has already spent money to conduct a review of a provincial police force, all the pros, cons, costs, all those things. That report should have been completed. I haven't seen any responses or anything out in regards to that. So my approach has always been, let's wait and see what the provincial police force study says, because at the end of the day, if the study says it's too costly to move forward with a provincial police force, the province will probably drop the idea anyways. But certainly I will need to hear from council and want to hear from council in terms of if they want to move forward and provide a letter of support and ask that they discontinue their process. If that's the direction from council, we can bring that back at our June meeting and have a resolution to that effect. But really, I think the information that the other municipalities have using is valid, but I don't know if it's got some information from the Police Federation. And I'm not discrediting that information, but supposedly the information that Price Waterhouse Cooper is going to bring together should be totally unbiased and feel confident in that information. So I guess if council, I'd like to see what council's thoughts are moving forward.
I'm just going to ask a question. I guess we're still waiting for the province's report on their findings, and maybe, I mean, not saying that we can't write a letter, but maybe writing a letter now is premature to what the results are from what the province has. I'm just throwing that out there, but let's just do a quick roundtable. Councillor Jensen, and then Councillor Bowden.
I agree. I think we're jumping the gun a little bit by sending a letter now.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bowden, then Councillor Stickle.
Well, I had initially brought this forward because of the other letters, and I would like to see what the results are of the report and that sort of thing. But I guess I just thought it would be good to have a discussion and just to bring it forward so that it's in people's forefront in their mind.
Okay, good. Thank you. Councillor Stickle, then Councillor Olsen.
Yeah, I think it's a little early to be writing a letter. We've got to wait and see what the province says.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olsen, followed by Councillor Campion.
Yep, I am totally comfortable waiting.
Okay. Councillor Campion?
Oh, as usual, I figure you should write it now. Get it, I gotta be different, get it out there. Show the other communities that we're supporting, and we're not in favor of the thing anyway, so. That's my opinion, whatever.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's good. So I think the consensus is not to write a letter at this point in time. We'll wait for the report and see what it says. So is that enough information for you, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, I just, Councillor Bowden had wanted to have this discussion, and it was really challenging trying to put something together in terms of recommendations. So I just gave you a bunch of reading. At the end of the day, I think from my perspective, and I'm speaking for council, I think we support the RCMP. We support our local detachment and the work they do. And by no means us not writing a letter or sending a letter does not indicate that we're dissatisfied with our RCMP. I think it's just best to wait and see what the report findings are and go from there. But and I'll certainly send that message along to Trent and his staff, but certainly I want that message to be out there that we are supportive of the work they do and the detachment, and this is no sign of disappointment in how they do their job. So.
Right. And a provincial police department does not eliminate the RCMP. You look at Ontario and Quebec, they both have provincial police departments, but that does not eliminate the RCMP. The RCMP work, in conjunction with the provincial police forces. So, but I'd like to see what that report says. So, okay, thank you for that. Great work. I would entertain a motion that council accepts for information the RCMP provincial police force study as presented. Thank you, Councillor Bowden. All in favor? And that is carried. That takes us to 6.02 Coal Development Eastern Slopes. Mr. Neal.
Again, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Bowden wanted an opportunity for council to have a little bit of a discussion on coal development permits, leases on the Eastern Slopes. Again, I don't profess to be an expert in this matter, but at the end of the day, I guess my understanding or consensus of it is that the province has certainly backtracked in terms of where they were a few months ago in terms of allowing some permits and some lease for coal exploration. They have, my understanding, they've basically put all that on hold, shut all that down in terms of doing some more public consultation. I know that the Red Deer River Municipal Users Group has met with Minister or Deputy Minister of Environment to talk about that. That I think for us is the big concern. I do think certainly that I did attach the letter from High River. I think it's they've been very strong proponents of preserving the eastern slopes, and basically they're looking if there's any feedback we may have to provide them on those issues by, I think it's July 15th, that we could. So that's certainly something we could come back to council on June 8th with that letter in terms of basically if council supports their recommendations, which is no further coal exploration on the eastern slopes. Existing coal mining operations in Hinton Grand Cache will be permitted to retire gracefully, and reclamation by 2025. Our biggest concern, I think, here, being where we're located, is we have to always keep in mind that we're concerned about the water that comes through the eastern slopes. Ultimately will find its way into the Red Deer River, which ultimately we will be drinking that water. So certainly we want to make sure that from our perspective that that's preserved and regulated. And I think as far as we move forward, we're okay. So if it council's okay, what we will probably do is bring this back to a future council meeting, the High River letter, and get a resolution from council to either support their proposal or not, if that works for council.
Yep, I think so. I think thumbs up for, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's a good idea. And I think the work that Red Deer River Municipal Users Group will help. Councillor Campion, did you want to add anything to the work that the Red Deer River Municipal River Users Group? I can never get that right. But.
Yeah, we had quite a meeting with the deputy minister that day, and it was very interesting. And they took us right through the whole thing and showed us what options were available, and that there are mines still up there that are still licensed. There's 2 or 3 of them are licensed, but they don't think that they will ever open up that mining part thing. And our concern was the water coming down the Red Deer River. And it was a very interesting presentation thing. I really enjoyed it. And they gave us all the answers we wanted. There was quite a few follow-up questions that we're still addressing as it goes. But as you know, I wasn't at the last meeting, so I don't know if they addressed any of it or not. Okay. Councillor Stickle filled in for me, so.
Great. Okay, well, I think the suggestion for Mr. Neal, just bring it back to the maybe June meeting, and we can approve a letter to be sent. I think that would work. Okay, everybody's in agreement. Then with that, I would entertain a motion that council accepts for information the coal development permits Eastern Slopes report as presented. Thank you, Councillor Campion. All in favor? That is carried. We'll go to council round table. I'm going to go reverse order this time. We'll go Councillor Campion, followed by Councillor Olson. Councillor Campion, anything?
No, nothing to report right now. Like I say, I was off for the last Red Deer River meeting. Just looking at my book here. Oh, nothing else has been coming up, or nothing behind me yet. So.
Okay. Well, I hope you're feeling well, and I hope you get better. We know you had an incident here, so our thoughts go with you, and we hope you get better.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olson, followed by Councillor Stickle. Councillor Olson.
Nothing crazy has changed. I guess golf course, the kids stuff has opened up finally after this last week with school going in. Everybody's happy there. Junior golf, there's now a school golf team with 26 kids that we had out last night, and then there's another 34 for junior golf tonight. So I'll be out there with, I think, about 8 or 9, 7, 8-year-olds, teaching them all the ins and outs of the game. Looking forward to HLC meeting next week with Insight for the rebranding and any information, all the marketing that way. Yeah, that's about all that's going on.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions? Sorry, for either Councillor Olson or Councillor Campion. Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Campion.
Just a comment for Councillor Olson. I heard there's a busload coming down from Edmonton for lessons tonight.
Perfect. It'll be me out there with a whole bunch of.
Yeah, they're not kids though.
But they'll be entertaining then, I'm sure.
Okay, Councillor Stickle, followed by Councillor Bowden.
Not much to report. Palliser, we've got a meeting Friday morning, another meeting. Looking at hiring a senior planner, so that'll be our discussion on Friday. So other than that, not too much.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Stickle? Okay, Councillor Bowden, followed by Councillor Jensen.
I really don't have a whole lot. I apologize for adding the extra work to administration regarding those items, but I just think that if the letters are asking for support, that maybe we should give them an answer, yes or no. And so that was just all my intent. So I appreciate the work you did to provide the information for us, and great job, administration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions for Councillor Bowden? Okay, thank you. Councillor Jensen.
Not a whole lot. We do have some summer staff that has been hired at the library. The summer reading program is going to be a go in one way or another. So keep your eyes and ears open for information on that. And that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Councillor Jensen? All right, seeing none, that's good for me. It's been very quiet, which is okay for me. It's been busy at the store, so that lets me focus on that. But any questions for me? No? Okay, perfect. So I guess we'll see each other again tonight at 7 o'clock. Lori will send out a new invitation. Okay, that's perfect. So thank you for that, Council. Well done, administration. We'll see you all tonight. I'll declare this meeting adjourned at 10:48.
Thank you. Get
Thanks,
well
folks.
soon, Councillor Campion.